So good afternoon. Welcome to the Friday Finish. My name is Vicki. I am the Director of Community Relations and Communications here at Assisting Hands Home Care. I am bringing to you today the Rich and Rich Pacheza. They are some local financial advisors, and I'm super excited to introduce you to them because they are the newest contributors to our blog. And the reason we're developing this relationship with them is whenever anybody calls, the first thing out of their mouth after we say, hello, thank you for calling Assisting Hands Home Care. How can I help you? How much are your services? So we know anything related to healthcare is probably super expensive. You know, you go to the doctor, you have a copay, prescriptions, tests, procedures. I mean, forget it if you're hospitalized. And home care or any type of long-term care. If you're going to do care in your home, you're going to go to a rehab facility or assisted living or skilled nursing. Any one of those options involves a financial component, and trying to plan for it can sometimes be tricky, or people might not even be aware that you can plan for such things. So we are kicking off a year-long series with Rich and Rich about how to pay for care and looking into methods, ideas, concepts of how to handle those kind of bills and how you can think long-term down the road to be ready for it when you need it. So I wanted to introduce them to everybody so you can get to know them. So who is going to be talking to you for the next year through blogs and webinar presentations. So I wanted to introduce them and say hello and ask Rich and Rich to tell us a little bit about themselves and why they think this topic is so important and why are they so passionate about helping people plan for their futures.
Okay. So I guess I'll go first since I'm older. So Rich Pacheza Sr. And I work with my son, Rich Pacheza Jr. We are a team. And so, you know, it's a very, I don't want to say complicated subject, but there's a lot of layers to the subject of planning. And I could just tell you from a personal experience, I'll share a story with you. I had a family member who had done well throughout life in terms of making right investment choices and investing in real estate, and had accumulated quite a significant amount of money over the years. Retired with a nice chunk of change, as the saying goes, and ultimately it came time in his life. It was my uncle who it came time in his life where he needed to have care, you know, professional care, and so that wound up eroding pretty much 90% of his assets that he accumulated over his lifetime. Which left my aunt with, 10%, which wasn't a lot of money at that point in time. Had he had planned for it ahead of time, my aunt would have not been left with the 10%. She probably would have had about 95%. So that really is something that resonates with me when I'm talking with people and just having conversations as to things that happen for real. And things that, you know, should just be mindful of. You know, sometimes
Absolutely.
it's not important to everybody, but, you know, I think at the end of the day, when you reflect on it, it's probably is important to everyone.
Absolutely. And I know myself, I was very fortunate. You know, my mom thought ahead and pre-planned, and you know, at the time, you know, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you don't think that way. You just roll your eyes and go, okay, Ma, you know, and she really took the time to, I'll say, pound it into my thick skull, the importance of planning and thinking these things through. You know, after we lost my dad 20 years ago, the next day, business day, we were at the attorney, we were at the insurance broker, we were at the financial advisor, putting plans in place because she knew from the experience of taking care of her parents, and she was wise enough to see down the road things had changed. You know, I was lucky and had a stay-at-home mom, but nowadays you need two incomes to be able to sustain, you know, a household in most cases. So she knew, looking down the road, she looked at me and said, honey, I don't want you to have to worry about how to take care of me, or having to make the choice between your job and paying your bills and taking care of me. She goes, I know we're not in the situation we used to be. So I was very, very lucky. She educated me on what to do and how to do it. And I know a lot of families don't have that, or there's that secrecy around the finances.
Yep.
So, throughout this series, we're going to be tackling all of those things, including to, how to, from the child point of view, how to bring up that subject of financial health, how to have the conversations, and how to pre-plan, because there's such a stigma around but planning for care, because nobody wants to think that way. We're all invincible, right? We're like Wonder Women. We're bulletproof, but everybody's got to do it. And the more you talk about it and the more you pre-think it, the more prepared you're going to be.
I always kind of look at it from the perspective, you don't buy car insurance planning on getting into an accident, but you buy car insurance should the rare occasion come up where you do get into an accident and you need to rely on that. And that's all about planning. I mean, I know in New Jersey we're required to do that, but planning is planning. And so the people who make a plan usually are more successful than the people who do not plan. That's a fact, statistical fact.
Exactly. And, one thing I love about you guys is you operate as a father-son team. So you have that unique perspective of being able to relate to all of these issues from both sides of the coin, and so tell me a little bit about your unique perspectives and how you approach helping people.
Well, so I can tell you from the younger perspective, as we're seeing people get diagnosed with different ailments at younger ages, people my age living with family longer, you're starting to see grandparents who ran out of money coming in and moving into a home. And now you're having 3 generations in a home together. Why? Because the proper planning didn't take place. So while it seems like something like, oh, maybe we don't need to deal with this in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even into your 50s, some people are hesitant to discuss long-term care and what you need to do to protect your assets, to protect your home, to protect your family. It's so important to just think ahead. It's cheaper to plan ahead, so you might as well.
That's a good point, Rich. Long-term care isn't just for old people. No. It could be someone in your age bracket, my age bracket, because you never know when a catastrophic illness could strike, or you're in a car accident and you're out of work for a year because you have an injury. I mean, just look at what's going on in the world with some of the COVID long haulers who can't go back to work. So this is not something that's an old people issue, right?
In fact, the first 2 long-term care policies that were ever sold that paid out were for men in their 40s. One got into a car accident, the other was diving into a pool, broke their neck. Long-term care events. You don't think about it. Luckily, they had the foresight to purchase long-term care insurance. And back in the day, those were whole life policies where they paid out indefinitely. They had unlimited benefits. People don't have the ability to buy those really anymore, but if you plan ahead, you can still do all right for yourself.
Yeah, because you have to think about that. Things have changed in the financial, arena, and, those GEM policies, my mom was lucky enough to have one of them. So I never had to worry about how long I had to juggle her finances. It just paid out, and, so there's a lot to learn. And, we're going to be talking about all of those topics, how to plan, what you should be doing at what age to think ahead, because, even as someone in their 40s, chances are you might be married, have a couple kids. What would you do? It's not just life insurance you need to think about. And that's a really interesting point you brought up there, Rich Jr., about grandparents are moving back in. That's, a trend I hadn't quite heard of. I know the college kids are coming back because
things going in reverse.
Yeah, because the job market isn't what it was. So the college kids are coming back, but I didn't realize that the grandparents were coming in because they're running out of money.
A couple different clients. They have had multiple generations move back in because, you know what, grandparents sell their houses. A lot of times you can be in assisted livings and If they don't have that Medicaid bed available at the time, you have no other option but to come home. So,
Very, very
so
true.
important.
Exactly. And then that puts a burden on the family because who's going to be home to take care of them if they
Yep.
need that 24-hour care?
Financial
So we're going to, throughout this series, we're going to hit topics, such as, how to bring up the topic of financial health, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? And when we talk legacy, like what kind of financial legacy, what's important to you and your family? Is it a pile of money in the bank? Is it a house? Is it funding your grandkids' college education? We're going to get into that. We're going to get into pre-planning for mom and dad. What happens to the other spouse or partner if someone is in care? How do they take care of them? And if you're paying for care, how do you pay the grocery bill, the electric bill, all of those things? So those are some of the topics we're going to get into, because how do you balance everything in life? It's a challenge that these two have seen and, want to help families through. Now, have you two had home care experience in your family at all? Has anyone in your family had care or been in an assisted living?
Assisted living, yes, not home care.
Yeah, not personally home care.
Not personally home care, but I have friends that have had those situations where they've had home care for a parent. So
Yeah, and the
I'm not
assisted living,
unfamiliar.
again, you
Yeah.
have to pre-plan for that.
Yeah.
I know I was pricing it out for my mom and I was shocked, at the cost of how quickly any option will add up, whether, you're doing home care, assisted living, even adult daycare is.
Yeah. And there's a fit for each one of those situations for that type of person, as you know better than
Absolutely.
anybody.
Absolutely.
And they all come with a price tag. And it's, it'd be nice to be in a position where you've made the plan where you can pay for the most expensive price tag, should that be the proper circumstances for your loved one. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna also get into some of what are the qualifications for the financial assistance and the federal assistance programs, because there's so many options with that, and legal things you have to do. So we're going to touch upon that at some point. And then the other thing we're going to get into that I find is really fascinating, and some people don't even think about until we were talking about this whole series, is what do you do if you're a business owner? What do you do for your employees to help, not only protect your business, your livelihood, but protect them, their livelihood? And what do you need to offer to your employees to help them down the road,
Sure.
with insurance options and whatnot? And I just went, I never even thought about that. But,
Yeah.
if you're a small business owner and something happens in your family, what do you do?
It's a whole nother layer of responsibility and planning. It's not where you have a 9-to-5 job and you retire, and that at the end of the day, or if something happens, you leave your job and the employer replaces you. So it's a whole nother layer of, like I say, responsibility. So,
Exactly. And it's very different times now where, you talked about, 9 to 5, 40, you're retired, you left your job, you're done. Now people don't do that these days. They change careers, they change positions, and you need to have things that can go walk along the path with you, and financial planning is a mystery to a lot of people, unfortunately. So we're going to get some deep into that. And I encourage you to read the kickoff to this series. It's called, Is Long-Term Care Part of Your Retirement Plan? And that is the first blog. I will drop a link to it in this post, and in the comments, you'll see it in the e-newsletter. And it's the kickoff, and we will be seeing you every month. You'll see a post, dollars and cents, and it'll help guide you through the journey and hopefully give you some tips you can use to make some decisions. And of course, consult your financial professional if you have any, questions, concerns, because they're the ones who can really address each and every unique situation and make the best of it. So thanks for watching the Friday Finish. We will see you next Friday. Have a great weekend. Have a great week, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.